It's your favorite host, Marcus Norman of Gentleman Style Podcast Show. Today, we're going to be talking about franchising, but something unique, not the typical franchising. I have the expert here on the show to discuss non-food franchising, which is something unique and is different than what we've been trained to look for in business and in our investing world. So, you all won't want to miss 1 second of this guest that I'm bringing to the stage. This man is phenomenal. He's here to help us do better with our investing and invest in a better startup type of business. Here we go. Hey fans, I'm your host Marcus Norman, his favorite gentleman on the Gentleman Style Podcast Show. And today I have Mr. Jon Ostenson. This man is the top 1% national franchise broker in the country. And he's also an investor, author, and international speaker specializing in the area he has coined as non-food franchising, which we're going to get into today, and you won't want to stay tuned for this. You want to stay tuned for this. He's also served as the president of a top Inc. 500 franchise system. Now, as a multi-brand franchisee himself, Mr. Jon invests in numerous non-food franchises himself. Him and his partners are taking the world by storm and here to help give back and teach us and educate us on this new wave of opportunities. Mr. Jon serves as the CEO of his company, FranBridge Consulting, and has helped thousands of entrepreneurs and investors explore business ownership and new investment opportunities. Help me welcome to the stage, Mr. Jon. Welcome, sir. Welcome to the Gentleman Style Podcast Show. We're happy to have you.
Marcus, thanks for having me. Love the show and looking forward to our conversation.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to this conversation. I've been looking for this conversation all week, actually. Been super excited about. Sir, why franchising? Why non-food franchising? I want to dive in straight into this. Why non-food franchising? Where's the money being made in non-food franchising?
Yeah, absolutely. I think kind of from a 30,000 foot level, coming out of COVID, more and more folks are questioning the path that they're on and saying maybe now's time to scratch that entrepreneurial itch. You also see, interest rates fairly low and some cash on the sidelines. So, we work with both entrepreneurs and investors, those looking to run a business full time as well as those part time. And really, franchising is not right for everyone. So I have to tell some entrepreneurs you're too entrepreneurial. You can't stay within the guardrails. However, for the vast majority, it really is a better path to business ownership. Franchising provides them with a playbook. That's just about going and executing. And you've got a coach on the sidelines and that franchisor that's supporting you. You've got other franchise owners around the country that are going through the same things you are, and you're exchanging best practices and learnings. Ultimately, when you look to sell the business down the road, you should command a higher multiple upon that exit versus, like-kind businesses that are non-franchise. There's been a lot of research around this. So, for many, it is a better path to business ownership. Kind of helps you start on third base instead of first base, not to be too cliche, in business for yourself, but not by yourself. And so, no, we're just seeing more interest than we've ever seen before. And it's getting competitive out there. A lot of good opportunities are going fast in good markets.
So would you say these non-food franchises, what are people buying? What are investors, entrepreneurs buying with you? What are they partnering with you?
Yeah. So, as you mentioned, I coined the term non-food franchising. My background is not in food. I've worked in other service type businesses. And what I found is about 95% of my clients recognize that there are other ways to make money and maybe easier, cleaner ways to make money than food that require less capital at the beginning and don't require inventory in some cases or such a large team. So some examples, we work in industries. I'd say home and property services has probably been the hottest industry coming out of COVID. $600 billion industry in total, lots of different facets within it. Just had a Wall Street attorney outside of Boston buy a gutter business. That's just an example. We have So home and property services, automotive, lots of concepts within that. Anything related to kids, pets, the aging population. Where are people willing to spend their money regardless of, recession or pandemic? So that's really kind of those non-sexy businesses, as I would describe them. Anything related to health and wellness. What are those macro trends you're seeing? There are a lot of businesses that touch on these types of industries and trends, and really, I don't like the term trend, but more so these macro forces that are moving us in a direction. So, about 90% of my clients end up purchasing a business that was never on their radar in an industry they hadn't really seen themselves in. So, it's a lot of fun for us as playing matchmaker, working with hundreds of franchise brands, all these neat concepts, and then getting to introduce those to our clients.
Makes sense. Makes perfect sense. What is are there franchises that you would consider recession proof or pandemic proof? Are there any franchises that you would recommend to a client who's experienced COVID-19, who's experienced and didn't do well? The restaurant industry, which is food, did not thrive during the pandemic. What would you recommend to a customer or a potential client that's interested in some non-food franchises that will last the next potential pandemic?
Yeah, absolutely. And, I think surviving a pandemic, surviving a recession, what's Amazon resistant these days? That's a common question. And, it's businesses like, I just had a client in South Carolina that had bought a roll-off dumpster business back in the fall. Well, he's now expanding significantly into other markets. He's absolutely killing it. That's an example, or a Serve Pro type business. Just had a client in New Jersey buy their second location of the Serve Pro style business, water mitigation, mold remediation. That's never going to go out of style. But then we see businesses like, you hear about oil changes, potentially going away down the road because electric vehicles. Well, when you look at the stats and pull the covers back, 15 years from now, less than 10% of cars on the road will actually be electric. And so, just had clients purchase 10 locations between Atlanta and Charlotte of an oil change business, great founders and the leadership team on the back end. They use prefabricated buildings backed by an investor group in unused parking spaces of retail shopping centers. And so extremely convenient, lower cost to get in. You're probably all in for 125 to 150 per location, 150,000. And there are ways to help finance that. But you're paying about half or a third of what you would normally pay for an oil change facility. And they've only got 2 employees per location instead of a large staff. And so, it's businesses like that may not be on someone's radar out of the gate, but once they dig in and really understand, hey, there are a lot of ways to make money out there.
I love that. So are these franchises established franchises, like they're pre-existing and I'm buying into them as a co-owner or owner? Or are they franchises that I have to build out?
Great question. About 10% of the deals that we do with clients are resales, and so they would be existing. But about 90% would be new to the market, or at least new to the locations that they've chosen. Again, you've got the franchisor support on the back end. It's executing that playbook. When I was a franchisor at Shelf Genie, and I had a couple hundred franchisees that I was supporting day in, day out with my teams. What I would tell them oftentimes is that we make the phones ring with our marketing. We answer the phones with our call center. We support you with the technology and the product development. But ultimately, it comes down to you in that local market, building out those referral partner relationships, and sponsoring the Little League baseball team, getting involved in Chamber of Commerce, those grassroots efforts, and then really your ability to attract and retain talent, make tough calls when needed. Those were the biggest determinants of just how successful you would be within the franchise system. And it sounds cliche, but it really was true that our top performing owners were always those that followed the system most closely. And so there really is truth behind that.
I love that. Are there any franchises that I can run passively, right? If I'm an investor, do I have to work in the Chick-fil-A model, right? The Chick-fil-A model is appealing to some people because it's, the long lines and the money, the potential money or revenues that could be generated, but you have to work in the business. Are there any franchises that I can not working and just be passive income for me?
There are definitely some that require that owner-operator day-to-day support. However, quite a few, I'd say the majority of the ones we work with do allow for what we'd call an executive model or a semi-passive, semi-absentee. I always tell my clients that, hey, there's no such thing as truly passive. You're going to roll up your sleeves at some point or another. But the semi-passive model would be putting a general manager in place from day one, and allowing them to then run the business for you. Of course, you're going to be providing some guidance. No one's going to care more about that business than you, especially if you're the primary equity provider behind it. However, there are formats where maybe you're able to ultimately put in 10 hours a week instead of running that, say, 40 to 50 hour a week shift.
Love that. Love that. Are there any, I appreciate that answer, because for me, when investing, you have to really know yourself. And I feel you have to know what type of investor are you? Are you the passive type, or are you, the kind of that just wants to just receive the checks and have very minimal or no interaction because you have managers and supervisors in place to run your business? Or are you the boots on the ground type of investor? And you kind of alluded to that in the beginning, where, sometimes you can be too entrepreneurial, right? You got to stick to the program. The franchises have guidelines and boundaries for your protection, for your benefit, not to hurt you or stagnate you, but this is a proven business model that works, and we don't want to venture or stray off. So you can be too entrepreneurial. I have real estate investors that tune into my show. Why are real estate investors a great fit for franchising opportunities?
Yeah, no, I'd say more than half of our clients do own investment real estate as well. I think there are a lot of synergies here. And part of that is the semi-absentee type nature and how they're looking to create passive streams or near passive revenue streams. Secondly, we just have a lot of businesses that really complement the real estate space. We had a real estate broker recently that has a team that said, hey, I'd love to get into the property management business. Instead of having to recreate the wheel, why not just buy into a franchise? And so he purchased one and has done great with it. And there are a lot of businesses that, again, going back to the home and property services, there are businesses that can support there. Then we also have investors that may have a small multifamily apartment complex, and there are businesses that cater to that, or maybe they've got a retail strip center, and obviously there are a lot of options to plug in there. So no, we definitely seen, and I'd say the biggest kind of line between those two is just that mindset of looking to build out a portfolio and diversify investments and not put all your eggs in one basket. For me, I'm a semi-passive investor myself. We've got young general managers, typically, not that age matters, but we've just kind of had a sweet spot of 27, 28-year-olds, putting them in place, giving them a lot of responsibility, give them a fancy title, and then tell them to go make us proud. And quite a few of my clients have done that same thing, where, for me, I probably put in 10% of my time into our portfolio of holdings today, but allows me to spend 90% of my time doing what I love, which is working with clients.
Love it. I think is gas stations included in non-food franchising, or a Jiffy Lube? Are those considered non-food franchising, right?
Yeah, quite a few would fall into that bucket. We don't work a lot. We work with quite a few oil change concepts. Don't get as involved in the gas side. That's just a whole different world. I say we don't work in food, and we'll do a few food deals every now and then, but that's not what we lead with. And food, really lodging, like hotels, we also stay out of that space. It's just a different animal. And then the gas, I would bucketize with that as well.
Love it. Mr. Jon Ostenson, y'all. We have one quick short commercial break. We'll be right back.
I'm Marcus Norman, bringing fresh vibes to hot topics surrounding culture, relationships, business, finance, sex, dating, faith, and everything in between. Whether you're into passive income opportunities, trending topics and useful relationship tips, or dynamic guest speakers, there's something for everyone. You can expect all that and more every week. If you're down with this content, then consider joining our growing community by subscribing to Gentleman Style Podcast and smash the bell to get on our VIP list. Your support means the world. Thanks for watching. Link to my channel.
Support for Gentleman Style Podcast is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming champions of the world. Manscaped offers you precision engineering tools for your family jewels. Manscaped just launched their 4th-generation trimmer, the Lawnmower 4.0. You heard that right, the 4.0. Join over 2 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer for you. 20% off free worldwide shipping with the code GENSTYLE at manscaped.com.
We are back to Gentleman Style Podcast Show. We have the incredible, phenomenal CEO, founder of FranBridge Consulting. And this gentleman just spilled some tea on why is it better to deal with a franchise and reach out to his company and partner with him and get into franchising, and why that's a superior business model. But not just any franchising, non-food franchising, which is a specific specialty that him and his partners specialize in. We have a question from one of our VIP sponsors in the audience, Ms. Nikki Brown. She asked a question, a very good question. I'm interested in buying into a franchise, early childhood education daycare. Where do I start?
Yeah, great question, Nikki. So you can go out and do some Googling. The challenge with Googling is you're going to see the best foot forward from every franchise system. They're going to put their marketing message out there. You won't be able to see behind the scenes. And so the way we engage with clients, first, our process is entirely free. It's a great model. Our clients never pay us a nickel. We get paid by the franchisors on the back end. For them, it's a sales and marketing expense, so none of it gets passed on to our clients in any way at all. And so that's how we engage with clients. We represent a couple hundred brands, as I did mention. So what I found to be successful time and time again is taking people through a very streamlined process in which we get to know them, expose them to opportunities that are available in their market. Of the 7 or 8 that we might walk through, they would then pick, say, the top 2 or 3 to actually then have a conversation with. We'd make the introduction. We'd kind of take them through the franchisor's process, holding their hand, getting on a weekly or bi-weekly touch base call, helping them think through the funding options, and helping to really serve as a sounding board. As you have these calls with franchisors, you're going to learn a lot. There's some things you're going to like, some things you don't like. You're going to have a lot of questions, and that's where we can really help you with our experience to navigate that process and make the best selection.
Love that. I hope that answered your question. That definitely answered mine, because Nikki, you stole my question. I was going to ask, what is that process? And you mentioned my favorite word, which is free. You don't charge a fee, and it's a convenience fee for you because the customers, the franchise pays for those costs up front. And so you extended the option. There is financing opportunities with these franchises?
There are. So I'd say about half my clients use SBA loans to help fund their purchase. And I always tell people, if your net worth, including home equity, is below 100,000, I'd say let's keep saving up. It's probably not the right time to buy a business, but assuming you're at that threshold or a little bit above, it's worth dipping your toe in the water and exploring. And so we do work with some great providers on the SBA lending side. So if you're purchase all in, and I'd say our average deal size is somewhere between 125 and 250. And so a lot of people choose to finance that with an SBA loan where maybe you put in 75%, or you finance 75%, put in 25%. There are also options like a ROBS program. If you built up your 401k or IRA, we're able to help self-direct that. And then there's portfolio loans and other ways to go about it as well. But I'd say about a third of my clients will pay out of pocket, about half will use SBA, and then about another, call it a third or whatever the math leads us to, will use one of these other options.
Absolutely. Can I pick your brain? I always love to add value to my audience. What are the top can you spill the tea? What are the top performing franchises? What's doing well right now? Are you able to share any of that?
I'll tell you my favorite at the moment. I've got about a dozen clients engaged in, and let me say this financial model is a lot stronger than than average. Not everyone is created this way, but it's a fencing franchise. They've got about 30 locations. They're in growth mode. They've got a relationship with Home Depot where they're driving getting all these leads from Home Depot to go run estimate appointments and installations, and they do a lot of the production of all different types of fence types in-house, and so they're able to provide their owners with 20 to 30% savings. All in investment on this franchise, you're between 150 and 200, including working capital, everything all in to get the business off the ground. They're averaging, Marcus, get this, averaging across their owners in the first year 1.7 million in revenue, year 2 2.8 million, and in year 3 3.8 million, and that's on margins of, call it, roughly 25% bottom line. So you do the math, you think about the return on investment, pretty incredible. And that can be run semi-absentee as long as you can put a manager in place.
I love that. You are speaking my language. That is phenomenal. Woo. So those are some big margins, huge margins. And you said that's a fencing business?
That's a fencing business. And so again, that would be the one. There's a reason why I've got a dozen clients currently engaged in it. Most are not quite that strong. However, it is eye-opening to a lot of our clients just what you can make in a franchise. And assuming nothing's totally de-risked. I mean, there's risk to everything. However, when you look at the success rates of franchise versus non-franchise, I mean, it's night and day. I mentioned the gutter deal earlier. I've had 3 clients recently purchase into that. No background. One was an insurance guy, one was a corporate marketing guy, and then I had the Wall Street attorney. So different backgrounds. But that's a business you can get all in for right about the same, 150-ish. And I mean, their franchisees average, after they're established, maybe call it year 2 or 3, they're averaging 1.2 million in top line revenue with about a 30% bottom line. And so there's a reason why attorneys are getting into the gutter business. Got their minds in the gutter, right? So.
You can't deny it. Those are hard numbers. Numbers don't lie. Numbers don't lie. And so that's huge. What I wanted to touch on this specific thing. What are the pros and cons of franchising? What are some of the costs that you would experience in a startup? Because a lot of people are like, oh, I want to start it from the ground up. I want to start from the beginning. I want to, deal with everything. What are the pros and cons of franchising versus starting the traditional concept on your own?
Yeah. Well, and a lot of our clients are existing business owners, and they've done it before. And for some of them, again, they might be too entrepreneurial to do a franchise. However, for a lot of them, they say, hey, I'd rather not have to recreate the wheel. I'd rather not have to go determine product market fit and see if the business can be profitable. With the franchise, it can be because it's been proven out. You just have to go execute it. And so, kind of what we hit on earlier, the playbook, the franchisor is that coach on the sideline. You've got other owners, to kind of compare and contrast with. You get a better exit multiple down the road. And so those would be the benefits. The cons, I would say, really just, having to stay within the lines. And some franchisors are more flexible versus others. But you may pay a little more upfront because you're purchasing that franchise, and then you're paying a royalty down the as a percentage of revenue to the franchisor. However, as long as you're getting the support for that, you would probably be spending that money elsewhere on your own, test driving ideas and marketing vehicles that may not have a strong ROI out of the gate. So, pros and cons, but from my opinion and most of our clients, they would say the pros definitely outweigh the cons. I've got a lot of clients that are looking to acquire an existing business out there, and then they come to me and ultimately say, hey, once I looked under the hood of some of these existing businesses, they're not as attractive as I thought they were. And, a lot of them do end up going the franchise route.
Makes sense. What are who helps me find a site location or find that location to break ground on? Is it you or is it the actual franchise company? Who helps me find a site location? Yeah,
for the franchises that do require physical brick and mortar type retail space like that, it'd be the franchisor, and they usually have a national broker system that they work with. So that's where I do the handoff over to the franchisor from a support standpoint.
Perfect. How can my audience connect with you? How can we learn more? How can we get the process started?
Yeah, come out to our website, FranBridgeConsulting.com. Sign up for our monthly newsletter, maybe as a first step. We've got a new book coming out in Q3, so we'll make sure to get a copy to everyone that signs up for the newsletter. But then if you're in a position where it does make sense to explore business ownership, would be happy to jump on a quick call, kind of, talk through it high level. Also follow us on LinkedIn. We're starting to get more active in some of the other social platforms, but LinkedIn is really our core focus. So connect with me personally on there. We put out great content 5 or 6 times a week. And I think that'll help start the education process as well.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Let's put that website back up. So connect. Get started in business today. It is not too late. This train has left the station and you're with a great company. You're with a great team. Mr. John and his team are going to help you find that perfect franchise for you. Thank you, Mr. John. I appreciate your time today. It's been phenomenal. I appreciate you, sir.
Enjoyed it, Marcus. Thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you. And thank you, my audience, for tuning in. I hope this was helpful. I hope this was information. I hope this helps inspire you to take the next step. Don't hesitate. Don't think about it. Just go in. You're in great hands. Thank you all for tuning in. Like I always, I have to let him go. He has many more franchises to start. And so thank you all for tuning in to the Gentleman Style Podcast Show. I hope this helps take your business to the next level. Like I end every show, take care of your friends, take care of your family, and always take care of business. This is Marcus Norman of Gentleman Style Podcast, your favorite gentleman, and Mr. Jon Ostenson of FranBridge Consulting. Love you guys. Bye.